Welcome to FSI Fridays. I'm Johansson coming to you live from Charlotte, and I'm joined by one of our co-hosts, Edwin, out of Boston. So, Edwin, what's FSI Fridays all about?
Hey, Jingle Hansen, happy Friday. Thanks, everyone, for joining. Well, so we know Microsoft has a lot of content out there. Sometimes it's a challenge to find what you're looking for, especially focused on what's relevant to and trending in financial services organizations. And there's so many interesting topics to cover. We're excited about not only about July, today's presentation, but August as well. So definitely stay tuned. Johansson, you want to go through the format for FSI Fridays?
Sure, yeah. So we're going to spend the first 30 minutes talking about OneDrive scanning via the mobile app. We're joined by some prestigious guests from our product group. And then we'll leave the last 15 minutes to address any burning questions that you may have. So please use the Q&A window and we'll monitor during the presentation. So we're excited to be joined by two of our very fine principal program managers, Ian Story and Greg Young, as they'll be discussing how and why other organizations are leveraging the scanning feature for B2B and B2C scenarios. So Edwin, what does today's agenda look like?
Yeah, it's pretty exciting for me to hear all about this too. So Ian will be walking briefly through the history of scanning in FSI. He has a really good background there, and explore why financial services organizations are using OneDrive even more today. Follow up next is Greg Young will jump in with some pretty cool demos and talk about what's on the horizon. And finally, we'll go through the Q&A altogether, asked from our attendees. So again, reminder for that Q&A section for you to ask your questions. So let's go to the next slide. Ian, let's first lean on your experiences. We've heard you had a history in financial services. Would love to hear your background and a brief history lesson with some of your favorite stories on this topic from the 80s onward.
Sure, absolutely. And thank you all for having me. I suspect that some of my friends out there in the financial services world might be watching this either live or as we put the playback out. So yeah, I spent several years as a customer of Microsoft and several of the Microsoft competitors in the financial services space. I spent the first 3 or so years of my career in that world at Washington Mutual, which has the dubious distinction of being the largest American bank to fail during the global financial crisis. Yes, it was my fault.
And now you're at Microsoft.
Yes, exactly. With a couple things in between there. But after Washington Mutual failed and was seized, I became part of JP Morgan Chase and spent a couple years at JP as well. Really, a lot of time here, really in the space of managing content and scanning content and storing it and so forth. Billions and billions and billions with a B, hundreds of billions really of files that we managed across those two organizations. So a couple fun facts. During the downfall of Washington Mutual, a friend and we saw what was happening with the company and we said, boy, we need to come up with a plan B here on what else we're going to do. And it was not, long after Apple had announced the iPhone that all this was happening. If you think back, it was just a couple of years since the iPhone had been announced, and we had written a couple of iPhone apps together to do social networking things. And back in those days, it was MySpace that we were using. You can really think back to this time. But the next app that we wrote was a scanning app that would let you use your phone to scan. And I remember really well showing it to my boss at the time, who of course is no longer in the industry, and him saying, why would anyone ever use their mobile device to scan? They have these terrible cameras, the quality is terrible, everybody's going to use a scanner. And we were just hoping, hey, we'd use this for something at WAMU, and no, not at all. So we actually took that mobile app and sold that to a partner who then turned it into a really, really successful app, actually the first mobile scanning app out there in the App Store. So anyway, so a little bit of history there. Other fun things that I did in those days, we traditionally did centralized scanning where all your branches and so forth would put documents into bags and they'd get sent to centralized locations around the country where they'd be scanned. You know, a couple fun stories from that time, documents that made their way across the border to a scanning facility that we had in Mexico, where a news crew from Texas actually followed them across the border and so forth. That was bad press for WAMU. And another instance where we were scanning documents and shredding them, which is generally a best practice. But you should always make sure that your system is backed up before you shred the documents, and that's something that WAMU learned the hard way. So lots of time in this industry. You know, I'll switch into the history here beyond my personal history at WAMU and Chase. You know, as we think about this industry as a whole, you know, in the 1980s and even before that, everybody was using microfilm and microfiche and so forth. You know, we threw a picture up here of a microfiche machine, just to remind everyone how mature this space is. As you really get into the 1990s, you saw the rise of, you know, really pure play systems for scanning and managing this type of information. The two biggest names, of course, being FileNet, which was later bought by IBM, and Documentum, which of course was bought by EMC and then Dell, and now part of OpenText. You know, so a rich history there of scanning and storing and working with content. In the early 2000s, Microsoft came onto the scene with the rise of Microsoft SharePoint. You know, initially customers really used SharePoint for basic document management scenarios, but as the 2000s have gone on here, we're now 20 years into the 2000s, hard to believe. We're seeing more and more customers, of course, using SharePoint for these traditional use cases. You know, in the financial services world, the common use cases are, you know, mortgage documents, insurance claims, new account opening forms, all those sorts of use cases that you see very commonly in this space. And so SharePoint becoming more and more prevalent in that. And of course, now with SharePoint Online as a part of Microsoft 365, you see just more and more use of these capabilities from that perspective. Lots of migrations now of kind of older on-premises systems to the cloud. We're definitely seeing that extensively. So that brings us to kind of where we are now in the year 2020. Obviously, everybody knows about the situation of the world. We're all working from home. I expect my dog is going to bark any minute here, living in fear of that. I know Greg's worried his kids are going to pop in at any moment. But, you know, everybody's working remotely. We've all got mobile devices, whether those are iPads or Android tablets or iPhones or Android phones. And, you know, building custom apps on these platforms, integrating capture capabilities into those custom apps. Microsoft, of course, provides SDKs that can be used and so forth there. All kinds of great services from Azure to help you classify and do OCR here. And that's really the state of the art, right? More and more bespoke applications. You know, every large bank now has check scanning built into their mobile app and so forth. And so we're really going to spend a lot of time talking about what our productized mobile app can do here, the OneDrive app, and we'll get into that a little bit as we go here. So let's.
It's awesome because you're kind of bringing me a journey through my childhood, right? That picture right there. I just remember doing, you know, research in middle school. The 80s was definitely my childhood. But then, you know, you were talking about the rise of SharePoint and mobile devices. There's a lot of transformation that has happened, and you know, the evolution of where things are today. So I'm definitely love to see the next slide. I know things have changed. So how have they changed, and why are we seeing more financial organizations use OneDrive scanning?
Yep. So the thing that we need to note for everyone on the call is when we talk OneDrive, we're talking OneDrive and SharePoint. OneDrive is the app that you use on your mobile device, again, whether it's Android or iOS, to access all of your content in M365. If that content is in SharePoint, fantastic. If it's in OneDrive, fantastic. But you know, when we talk OneDrive, a lot of folks say, "Oh, I don't use that consumer thing." Well, OneDrive is not a consumer thing. It is. We have a consumer offering, but this is all about the enterprise and what you're doing as a large FSI. And so, you know, in terms of the trends, why people are using it, first of all, there's a security aspect to this. You don't want people just using the camera app on their phone that maybe is built in by the OS vendor, maybe it's some third-party thing they downloaded to scan important business documents with customer information on them and so forth. You know, using something from Microsoft that you already own, to talk about the second point here. Any customer that has Microsoft 365 or Office 365 or SharePoint Online or OneDrive for Business, you already own these capabilities. You can deploy these to all your users and so forth. We talked earlier about the situation in the world, everybody working remotely. We've just seen a huge increase in folks saying, hey, I used to go over to the copy machine. I don't have a copy machine at my office anymore because my office is my house. And Xerox or Canon hasn't put a device in my house for me. And so people need this to get their work done. You know, they're still, you know, have everything from client notes to, in some cases, even forms that they're working on and so forth that are being FedExed out to people's homes. They process them and FedEx them back, being able to actually, you know, scan those things with their mobile device. You know, we support all the latest things that you would expect. Greg's going to show you this in the demonstration with, you know, scanning multiple pages, adding custom properties and metadata to your documents, you know, even things like, you know, hopefully when we're all back in the office someday, you know, use the OneDrive app when you're, you know, in a meeting, and you can take a picture of the whiteboard. It will automatically share it with all the people that were in the meeting and so forth. And so just a whole bunch of innovation here that we're seeing, you know, our customers use in using the mobile app here. So
yeah, you know, Ian, this is great, especially that security piece. What's funny is the other day, one of my friends was saying I can't, definitely don't want to say who, but he's texting his bank account information to transfer, you know, and I'm like, what are you doing, mate? You know, stop.
Yeah,
so this is kind of a reminder,
yeah.
please don't do that.
Yeah.
There are much more secure ways of doing this. So
Totally.
Johansson, I think, you know, and thanks again, Ian, we'll get back to you. Johansson, you want to talk about what's up with the demo?
Yeah. No, Ian, thanks for that perspective. I mean, you know, it's, you know, you talked about not having a copy machine. I mean, you know, with all of these great capabilities and the way technology is evolving, you know, these copy machines are, you know, going to be rendering themselves useless because you can pretty much copy with your phone. So thanks for providing that context, and, you know, definitely provided, you know, the importance of this capability and how it's making lives easier while working remotely, and even how our financial services customers can use them as well. So I'm really excited to see some of these demos. And Greg, you know, before you jump in, do you want to just tell us a little bit about yourself and what your responsibilities are?
Yeah, for sure. My name is Greg Young, and I'm a principal program manager at Microsoft. I have a range of things I do with OneDrive mobile app. We'll talk today a lot about scanning, but I work on a lot of other parts of the app, including some of the integrations we have with Teams and how files are used within Teams. So a lot of exciting stuff that I'm working on, and would love to take feedback from all of you on how you're using files across your work today. But today we'll focus on the scanning aspect of it all. And I've come to Microsoft from working at a few different startup companies down in the Bay Area. So it's been a really exciting opportunity for me to try and bring some of what I've learned from that world to a large company like Microsoft, and some of the exciting opportunities we have to partner and work with large and great customers like yourselves.
Very cool, Greg. So we have two demos that you wanted to show us. Want to tee it up while you get ready to share your screen?
Yep, I'm getting it up right now. Just bear with us for a second as we make this happen, and I'll be right there for the demo.
Yeah, while Greg shares the screen, I realized I just jumped straight into my history as a financial services customer. You know, just so that folks know, I do work at Microsoft. I'm not just a random plant here, part of the leadership team for OneDrive and SharePoint, responsible for how we work with customers and partners and industry analysts like Gartner and Forrester. So anyway, Greg's got his screen sharing. It looks beautiful, Greg. Let's take him through the demo.
Great. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk through, I'll do two separate scans here today. One, I'm just going to go with some of the more basic run-of-the-mill type functionality. And then the second one I'll do will have a bit more of the bells and whistles and deeper functionalities with it. I'll try and go kind of slow and at a good pace through it. With this being live and on video, there may be a slight lag, so please bear with me as we go through that. There are, as we will share later, more produced videos and recordings of this that you can refer to as well. But I'll go through it as I can right now through these capabilities. So I'm first going to start, like I said, with more of a basic scan. I first start by opening up the OneDrive app here. You can see that on my screen. And as Ian mentioned, this is where you start for this. A lot of the documents can be accessed from SharePoint as well, but we'll start within the OneDrive app today. And so here you can see I'm in the OneDrive app. I'm in kind of my home view where I can see all the files and folders that I have. You see tabs along the bottom, including the shared libraries, which we'll get to in a minute. So where I'm going to start here is there's the button in the middle of the camera on it down at the bottom. I'm going to tap on that, and what that's doing is that's bringing up the scan. This is the window that you use. This is if you're taking a picture with the camera on the device, except this is going to remain all with the talked about earlier. And is security is really important. We're going to leave this all within. So I've got a standard document here, a fake bank called American Bank. I've done a bit of a generic fill out here. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to tap that big button there. That's going to capture that scan. See that it says processing. What's going to happen next is we're going to identify the outlines captured so that you can see that the edges we detected. You can try and clean it up. But if for some reason it didn't capture them as you wanted, you want to put on a certain Word document, you can just drag that crop and I did a different color with that. You can tap done when I say I've got what I want. You can hopefully exactly correct stuff at the first time. And from there, you can see now here I've got it saved. I'm going to go into some details, like I said, on the next demo. But I'm going to proceed now. Say here's what I've captured. Save. Tap the done button. I'm going to give it a name here. Let's say this is the Pat Smith application. And I'm just going to tap the check mark up top. So you can see that I've named it. Tap check mark up top. And now it's uploading that file, that scanned PDF directly to my OneDrive. This is where I started.
Greg, the beautiful thing that you can do here, obviously, is not just scan and upload the file, but this could have kicked off a workflow through Power Automate or something like that. Obviously, you scanned and put it in your OneDrive, but there's no reason that you can't have automation that happens from there, correct? And you might need to get closer to the mic. You're a little quiet for us.
Oh, sure. Sorry.
Yep, much better. Much better.
Yeah, sorry about that. The one thing I was going to add is just Ian talked about the meeting sharing when we all get back to the offices someday. And you may have seen there was a little toast bar at the bottom there that said, "You want to share this?" What had happened is we've got a meeting on the Outlook calendar separate from this meeting, of course, a demo meeting. And I just tapped on that because it recognized that I was in a meeting at the time. And so it already brings up everybody who's been invited to that meeting, as you can see here. And I can just, by tapping send, allow them or send this to everybody there. I can edit the note that I want to give. I can edit the people who would receive it or not. But it's just a really quick way to capture content and share it easily. I won't send it now, but just to show that capability.
No, Greg, that was pretty cool, right? You just pretty much opened up your mobile, the OneDrive mobile app. You hit that scan button. It took a picture of the image and then automatically kind of created those crop lines for you. And then you just hit upload, and now it's uploaded into your OneDrive. That's something I think even on the consumer applications you can use as well. But a lot of our customers are leveraging, for example, SharePoint, and want to be able to scan these files very quickly and have them go into a document library with metadata. So is that something that's possible with kind of the OneDrive scanning app? And could you talk about a little bit about that?
Yeah, that's a great question. It absolutely is something that we do, and I will walk through that exact demo right now. We had heard from a lot of our customers that that's an important thing to them, and we know that. And so we did some work recently to make this become a really easy part of the mobile app. And as Ian, as everybody has referenced, with a lot of the work from home situation right now, this is even more critical than normal. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to show that, and I'm going to start in the OneDrive app. Down here on the bottom right, you can see with the tab that says libraries. I'm going to start there, and this is what allows me to see all of the shared libraries that I access. And we start by showing you all the ones you frequently accessed up top, and other ones you followed. And so you can access anything from here. For what I'll show today, I'll start in bank documents. Let's say we've got a shared one within our bank where we have a bunch of different documents, and I have a folder within there for credit card applications. So I would start there, and I see that I've got one here already, but I'm going to do a separate one. And so I'm going to go the same way we started earlier. I'm just now within this document library instead of in the home view of the app. I'm going to tap the scan button again. And here I have the same application. I'm going to capture this again. I looked away there, so I didn't capture the whole thing correctly. But for the sake of the demo, I'm going to proceed. I'm going to say I'm done there. And then one other thing I wanted to point out was that, as Ian mentioned, you can add more than one page here. So if you see on the bottom left here, there's a button that says Add New. I'm going to tap that, and I can have a second page or multiple additional pages that I add to the same scan, and it's going to be as part of the same PDF. So there I've added page 2. I say done there. And a few of the things I'm going to show you as we get on to adding the properties is within here, there's a lot of customizable and editable functionality you can do. We know that sometimes you want to add text, like you want to add a note, a written note directly into the scan. So you could write something here with just typing the T up top. Another thing is,
so that's pretty cool, Greg. So, you can take a picture, but then you can also now begin to annotate that, right? So I noticed that, there's some rotating, some crop, but you can go further than that and start kind of drawing these images. That's pretty, so you can highlight certain areas maybe that someone may need to take a look at. So this is really powerful stuff here. I know a lot of our customers, when they try to do this, probably not knowing that these capabilities exist inside of OneDrive, they probably take a picture with their mobile phone and then, upload it into that SharePoint document library. As Ian described earlier, when you take this picture, it's not actually storing this picture on your mobile device. It's literally taking it and throwing it up directly into that document library. So really kind of helping those compliance capabilities. So this is great. Could you show us some of those custom properties that we were talking about?
Yeah, that's great. So now that I've made the edits there of whether I've written text on top or I have drawn circles or added a signature with the inking function, I'll say done there. And then here I can again rename it as I'd like to. We'll just say Pat Smith application. It's saving it into that document library. And then we can also see, here's what we're talking about earlier, is the custom properties. So I've created a few in this document library. We talk about, is this application complete? Yes, no. And so this becomes a pick list. This is set up on the web and you can have any number of values in there, but in this application, we'll say for the sake of this that no, it's not complete yet. So this will just be a way we can note that. I can have a thing like a free text entry. So what state is this application from? Say this one is from California. So I would put that in there. You can even put in numerical or currency values directly from there. So opening balance, let's say that Pat Smith's going to come in with $500 in the opening balance. So a range of things that you can put in here, and this translates directly to the SharePoint Online experience where you can see all this and edit it directly there, but it's just very convenient to be able to do it directly from the app. The last thing to mention about this is you can see there's a tab here that says remember at the top. And what this means is that the person using the app can toggle this on so that each time they take a scan from the document library, it remembers those default values. It's not needed to be on it all the time, but it's one way to save people time if they're going to be entering the same information.
Greg, this is, the ability to apply these properties is really cool. And I think Ian mentioned it earlier. We've got kind of capabilities to then take these metadata properties and then do workflows around them. So as I'm maybe, take this bank application, I can go and scan it. Once it's scanned into that library, take all of that metadata and maybe kick it off to my Dynamics, interaction to be able to create a customer profile, for example. And then, some other things that I know are important for financial services customers is things like DLP and e-discovery. So because this is now stored inside of SharePoint, we can now do all of those kind of DLP capabilities and e-discovery. So I think this is absolutely applicable to our financial services customers, and I see a wide range of use cases, whether it be in banking or insurance, or even kind of doing mortgages and being able to scan mortgage documents very quickly. So a lot of use cases here as well.
Yeah, Johansson, I'll jump in for a second there. It's super important to note this is all built in. You didn't have to go to a separate app. You're not using the camera app. It's not being stored on your photo library on your phone or something like that in your camera roll or something along those lines. And like you noted, you get this information directly into SharePoint or OneDrive. You kick off a flow, aka Power Automate. I use both words because we're changing the names there, but some folks know it as flow, that can run this through an approval process, a workflow, kick off, integration with Dynamics. You can also use our capabilities, like you noted, to do e-discovery on all this content immediately, search for it, find it, share it, and even classify it and put DLP around that content. Hey, this is a customer document. We can OCR that and find that there's customer name and so forth. And oh, hey, we need to protect that so it can't be shared. All that stuff just natively. The key thing here is the OneDrive app acts like an on-ramp to get that content up into your SharePoint document libraries, as Greg just showed, or into your OneDrive if you're doing a more ad hoc business process.
Thanks, Ian, for that. And thank you, Greg, for those demos. Very cool stuff. So I know that you guys aren't done here and you've got a lot more stuff. So can you just tell us what we can expect in the near future as it relates to kind of OneDrive and scanning here?
Yeah, absolutely. And the quick thing to note is that we're never done improving this experience. There's always things we're excited to do better and improve upon, and a lot of that comes from feedback from great customers and partners. So we'd love to hear your feedback on the experience we have, as well as what your current problems and needs are. A few things to highlight, though, that are top of mind for us is we're always looking to improve the edge detection and cleanup. One of the great things about the experience we offer is, as you saw, some of the stuff I captured, there were some shadows on it, and I didn't show it, but there actually is a filtering capability, which we can highlight in some of the follow-up information, where you can pick a bunch of different filters to apply. You can have it be just black and white. You can have it be applied in color, and a bunch of things that will clean that up really quickly. Right now, that's a manual choice. In the future, it'll happen more in an automated fashion. So that's some exciting stuff to look forward to there. Reduced file size. This is another one because, as Ian mentioned, initially these were the cameras on the mobile devices were not that great, but now, as we all probably are aware, these are some of the best camera screens you can use, and they have really great and detailed cameras. But you don't always need that level and that large of a file size for a black and white document. And so we're doing some work to allow you to capture these documents and these files with these high-end camera lenses, but reduce that file size is something that is going to be a better way for you to share that file or store that file within your cloud storage. And then some other exciting stuff is looking at things like scanning a table. I've got maybe a table that's written or a printed table in a physical document, and I want to actually make that into an Excel document. Well, if you capture that within the OneDrive app, with a tap of a button, you can put that automatically into a digital Excel document to save that time of manually transcripting it or retyping that into an Excel document.
Wait,
there's a bunch
Greg,
of things
Greg,
we're looking at
just
here.
quick question here. So just to make sure our audience understands. So are you telling me that I could take a table and then take a picture of it and then automatically convert like that table into an Excel file? That's some really powerful stuff.
Yeah, it's something that's not available now. It's something that we're working on. We don't have a timeline in which we'll share it, but it's something we're excited to bring to the app in the future. So that's something that we know that is going to save customers a lot of time, and something that's exciting.
That's really exciting. I know for our financial services customers, I'm sure they can't wait for that feature. So, what else could, you talked about, these features and capabilities and what's on the roadmap. I know we want to hear from our customers around what's helpful for them as well, and, our financial services customers. So we definitely want to hear from them, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We'd love to hear from them, and we can take questions today, and then even going out in the future, we'd love to have an open line of communication that works for hearing what their needs are. We know that the needs of today aren't the needs of tomorrow, and those things evolve, and we want to be your partners in bringing solutions that help you take care of your newest problems.
Yeah, so Greg, we're really excited to see the progress of the app, and we can't see what, we can see why customers are taking notice with these kind of capabilities. So if you're a customer that wants to, provide more feedback, we have a link towards the end, aka.ms/FSI Fridays feedback, where you can provide your direct line of feedback, and then we can hook that up directly to Greg and Ian here so that they can kind of take that feedback and build it into the progress. So Greg, where can our customers go to find more information?
So we've got a bunch of links here within the deck that give a video overview of some of the features that I covered today. As I mentioned, these are going to be a bit higher production quality than what I was able to bring to you today. These have some of our marketing horsepower behind them. These will show things specifically like scanning the whiteboard document and sharing that within the meeting. It'll share a lot of what I shared today as well, just as a reference for you. There is also some resources that are not just specific to scan, but talking about the OneDrive mobile app and all the different capabilities there. We didn't cover those today, but there's a lot more than just scanning. And so there's some links to those as well. And then there's also a link to the OneDrive blog, which again is gonna be more than just scanning and more than just the mobile app, but ways to keep you aware of the latest things that OneDrive is bringing. We're always updating the value that we offer and the features that we have coming live.
Great. No, thanks for this, Greg. So what we'll do is we'll take these links, we'll make sure we put them at the bottom of our YouTube video here so that you'll be able to go and click on them when you need them. So, I think this has been a fantastic session, and I know we've got some burning questions in the Q&A. So let's go ahead and take them.
Yeah, no, yeah, absolutely. While we're bringing up Q&A, we do see a few questions. Hey, Ian, can you tell us what type of usage we're seeing with financial services customers with the OneDrive app? I know, with the security in mind, we're seeing a lot more usage, and would love to hear, how that's going.
Yep, absolutely. So, I would say, I've been at Microsoft for about 4 years now. When I first joined, there was a lot of nervousness, specifically around security of, oh, hey, do we want people using their mobile devices? Even if it's a company issued one, do we want them, scanning customer data here? Do we trust putting this data into the cloud with Microsoft and so forth? And that has changed dramatically over the last 4 years. In the last 4 months, things have changed very dramatically. There's the classic internet meme of the biggest driver of my digital transformation was A, the CEO, B, the CIO, C, COVID-19, right? I mean, there's clearly been massive, massive adoption here. We see that in our numbers, petabytes of content coming in into the service. And of course, while we never look at your content, that's obviously something that cannot be done by Microsoft. We can't just go in and start looking at your stuff. We can see the volumes here are significant, coming from the largest banks, the largest insurance companies in the world using OneDrive more and more. Our mobile app usage is just through the roof here. And it's not just to access things, but it's to create things and store things. The way Edwin and I first met was on a joint customer that was asking about using the mobile app to scan a large bank here in the United States that we first met on to talk about. And Johansson, you and I are on a couple threads with some others, and on and on and on. So yeah, it's just through the roof. So again, I would note, instead of having to go buy some separate capture tool or pay for mobile capture or manage a separate mobile capture app, some of the competitors have these separate apps that you have to separately secure with your mobile device management and mobile application management solutions and so forth. You can just straight up use what you already have here with the OneDrive mobile app, access all your content, scan content, kick off workflows in SharePoint, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, no, we've been working together on a few customers, Ian, and yeah, this is a topic that is, absolutely top of mind. And I think the key differentiator here is, that built-in security and compliance that, our financial services customers expect and value as well.
Yep.
So we did have another question here in the Q&A, talking specifically around kind of the scanning of a business card into a usable contact. Anything that you guys can share around that type of specific feature, maybe scanning a business card and what a person could do with that?
Yeah, I can take this one if you want, Ian. Great.
Yeah, go for it, Greg.
Yeah, this is a great question. And one thing to mention about the scanning experience we covered today and offer within the OneDrive app is it is powered by Office Lens. We're using Office Lens technology to do a lot of that. And the question here about business cards, I don't know if folks saw in the demo that I gave, but there are different modes when I'm in the scan. So what I showed today was all in document mode, but there's a mode for whiteboard, there's a mode for business card, and there is a mode for photo. And those are going to optimize the cleanup that's given to what type of content you've captured. And on that first scan capture screen, you just swipe horizontally to change the modes you're in. Now I think the question is talking specifically like, hey, can I capture a business card within the OneDrive app and have it create an Outlook contact out of that? To be clear on that one, that's something that we offer today currently. We're looking at bringing that to the OneDrive app. You can capture a business card there, but you cannot automatically create the Outlook contact from that. What you can do is you can do that within the Outlook app itself, which we think is potentially the more natural place for that to fit. And so we're looking at, as we mentioned on the roadmap, there's a bunch of stuff we're looking at. The challenge is just figuring out what's the right priorities to come through. That's definitely on our list, something we're interested in bringing. But right now, it's not something that's available within the app today.
Well, thanks for that, Greg. It's great to hear as people are asking really good questions. We have a bunch here. Hopefully we'll get to most of them, but it sounds like you're working on a lot of the top of mind. Another question here, I'll actually combine two questions, is there some kind of leveler feature to make sure scanned documents come in like an actual scanner? And then having a gyroscope feature while scanning document would help get more accurate picture. So I guess, these two questions are focused on like an actual scanner, right? People are used to where it looks great, gyroscope and maybe leveler.
Yeah, so I think that really gets back to the roadmap item that Greg talked about with just really deeply improving, we're using AI and neural networks to improve the edge detection that we do around documents and the straightening, the de-skewing, adjusting even the colors. Greg talked about, reducing file size and so forth. So that is 100% the kind of thing that we're investing in. The gyroscope one is an interesting angle. You do have the ability to tell the orientation of some devices, the iOS devices in particular, but not all the devices. So, but using that to figure out the angles and so forth is definitely something that our R&D team is working on. Greg, anything to add to that?
Yeah, you did a good job covering it there. It's a huge area of improvement, or excuse me, investment for us going forward is in making this better. I will identify that today in this experience. I was holding the camera at a bit of a weird angle and trying to capture everything here. So there were a few things that made that part challenging. Normally they won't be quite as cut off as that. There is the one thing I didn't share in there today, but it is the ability to apply a filter to something. So as I mentioned, some of the things today, because the lighting I've got here had a bit of a shadow on them. And sometimes as we all know, that happens in real life as well. And so you can apply a black and white filter directly onto that, and that cleans it up real well. And we've got some screenshots of what that looks like. And that's a really easy and quick way that actually reduces the file size as well as makes it come out a bit clearer and crisper. And so that's something that a lot of customers are using today currently. But yeah, this is an area that we're really excited to bring some improvements to going forward.
Great. So another question we had in the chat window was just around, I think, the table and converting it. Will it convert the text from, the image to, usable text? And I know you talked about kind of a roadmap item for, taking a picture of a table and then converting it to an Excel file. So Greg or Ian, do you mind commenting on that?
Yeah, I can start there, and Ian, you can come in as you'd like. So the idea here is that I would take a scan or a picture just like I did today, and then it would go through initially a quick process for the user who took that scan to say, yep, you've identified the actual table contents correctly, and now transit this to Excel. So it's going to go directly from the digital form once it's in the app, and then it would create a net new Excel document out of it where it would look to place the stuff that was captured directly into that new table.
Yep. And then obviously once it's in Excel, you can cut and paste. The question had asked about putting it into Notepad. Of course, you can go, grab stuff out of the Excel file and put it into Notepad or your email or wherever you want to take it. Worth noting, we also provide the ability, especially after you push the images up to Microsoft 365, to do OCR and object detection and so forth on the images. So OCR, everybody knows, optical character recognition, where you can then later on search for, show me all the documents that have been scanned that have, I think Greg said Pat Smith in the demo. Show me all the Pat Smith documents, and it will find those, not just by what Greg named and put in his metadata, but actually pulling that out by looking at the image itself. That's all processed on the back end as part of the search capabilities that you have in M365. The other thing, though, is doing object detection, where we can, if you're in the insurance space and you're doing, investigations of houses and car accidents and those sorts of things, say, show me all the pictures of brown houses or blue houses or something like that. Doing that level of object detection is the kind of thing that can also be done on the back end. You're not doing that on the mobile app when you're capturing, but that's just another reason to get it into the Microsoft Cloud, leverage a bunch of the Azure Cognitive Services that we provide to take advantage of that. So from the very simple things of, converting text into a table in Excel and then copying and pasting that, all the way up to very advanced things with, full text OCR and search and object detection. This is really the on-ramp to all those capabilities.
Yeah, I've seen some of the things that are up and coming. It's going to be cool and make experiences easier for everyone using this. I'm going to kind of pivot a bit and ask about restore functionality. Sometimes it happens. People's files gets you get ransomware. You got all these issues. What happens in the scenario for this where you are affected by something like a ransomware?
Yeah, so we had a customer, I won't name names, that was hit by the WannaCry malware a couple years ago now, and lost half the devices on their network. And this is a big manufacturing company. I'll go that far. They lost half, and so you can imagine if you're still mounting file shares, the ransomware can get there and encrypt all the content on your file share. So this is all the more reason to get your content into SharePoint and OneDrive. Once it's there, you can easily use our files restore capability to go through and actually say, I want to snap my OneDrive or my SharePoint site back to how it was Thursday at 2 p.m., Wednesday at 4, wherever that was, you can actually roll back and roll forward. And that's just a built-in feature of both SharePoint and OneDrive. So again, getting your content in helps you protect it from that type of thing as well, which you're not going to have if it's local on a file share, local on your hard drive, or even in a traditional on-prem solution. This is a really big advantage for our financial services customers.
So Ian, that snapshot and going back has definitely been a life saver for many companies. How far back does that go?
It goes 30 days. 30 days. Yep. So presuming you realize that you've been infected, and most users realize all their files have been encrypted within a few minutes of seeing it, you can go all the way back 30 days any point in time.
Thank you.
Yeah. No, that's, Ian, I can't tell you, there was a scenario where my laptop got stolen and I had to go and do a customer presentation the next day. And, OneDrive came to the rescue there. I literally went to a Best Buy, picked up a new laptop, loaded up OneDrive, had all my files on there, and was able to go and deliver that presentation. So true lifesaver.
Let's be clear. You first had to authenticate with Microsoft, prove that you were who you were supposed to be, et cetera.
Yes.
You can't just go get a consumer device and just get your business OneDrive on it. You got to go through your company's policies. So don't make it sound that easy, Johansson. For those that are worried about that, though, there's security.
I have to register my device. No, that's a great point.
Exactly.
So another thing that kind of came up here as well was the Office apps. I know we released a brand new Office app on iOS and Android, and I saw some of those kind of capabilities to kind of scan documents through there as well. Greg, do you want to just kind of talk a little bit more about kind of what you can do with that Office app today?
Yeah, so as Johansson mentioned, there is an Office app and it's called Office, and it's available for iOS and Android today. This has a lot of different great capabilities that will run the entire Microsoft Office suite, including they have some unique scanning capabilities, which are some of the things we're looking to bring into OneDrive. But some of the table to Excel stuff we talked about is available today within that app. And so feel free to go check that out, use it, give it a go, give us feedback on that experience and how, if at all, you'd like it to be different for when it comes to the OneDrive app. As I mentioned, within Outlook, they do have a scenario where you can add the business card contact. So there are some specialized scenarios where they're not available everywhere, but we do endeavor to make these experiences available in more places as we move forward.
Yep, and what I was going to note, Greg, is just strategically, we see the ability for you to capture, whether you're in Outlook on a business card or in Office creating a Word document or an Excel document or in OneDrive generically. Ultimately, all the content that you capture lives in M365, Office 365, whatever you want to think of it as, and is available through the OneDrive app, right? So you can still go and, if you captured that document and turned it into Excel using the Office app and you save it, you're saving it in either a SharePoint site or your OneDrive, and you're still going to get to it through the app. So, lots of specialized capabilities in our different apps, but the OneDrive app brings all this together. This is where all your files live in the Microsoft 365 world. You get to them through OneDrive, whether they're under the covers in your personal OneDrive or in a SharePoint or somebody shared them with you or what have you.
Hey, Ian and Greg, we've learned a lot. I'm sure our customers are excited about taking advantage of many of these features, especially, when it comes to security. I'm excited about using it more. And I also want to thank all the attendees with their live questions. This is definitely one of our, longest Q&A sessions. There's a lot of people joining. So I want to call out the feedback link, aka ms.ms/FSI Fridays feedback. We'd love to hear from you. What went great? What could have gone better? We also have a YouTube channel, aka.ms/FSI Fridays recap. We're posting all our videos from past sessions, and this one will be there shortly. And you could speed it up 2 times. You don't have 30 minutes to listen. Watch us talk fast. And then check out the rest of the July schedule. Johansson, you want to talk about what's happening the rest of July?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've got 2 more sessions to close out July. We're joined by Tom Depew. He's going to talk to us about data guardianship and what that means for financial services organizations, and then wrap it up with Chris Shanku talking about how you can automate an event management system using the power of the Power Platform. So in August, we're focusing on Azure and AI August, I should say. It's a lot of exciting content. So thank you very much to Ian and Greg. We look forward to leveraging OneDrive in our financial services customers. Thank you all for attending, and we'll see you next time.